an inspiring Indian astrophysicist who shaped the boundaries of science with his work. He was one of the greatest scientists of 20th century who became a legend in his lifetime. His prolific contributions extended over physics, astrophysics and applied mathematics. He was the second Indian citizen after Ramanujan to be granted the Prize Fellowship of Trinity College, Cambridge. He won the Nobel Prize in 1983 and is best known for his celebrated discovery of Chandrasekhar limit. Yes, I am talking about none other than the Nobel laureate Subhramanyan Chandrasekhar. Hello Stargazers, I am Khushi and you are watching Space Girl. Subhramanyan Chandrasekhar was born on 19th October 1910, and since today is his birth anniversary, there wouldn't have been a better day to talk about him. Chandra, as he was famously known, was born to a Tamil Brahmin family in Lahore, Punjab, which is now situated in Pakistan. His father, Subhramanyan Iyer, was the Deputy Auditor General of North Western Railways in Lahore. And his mother, Sita Lakshmi Iyer, was devoted to intellectual pursuits. She translated Henrik Ibsen's A Doll's House into Tamil and is credited in arousing Chandra's intellectual curiosity at a very young age. With a million stars as a blanket, the boy marveled at the amazing beauty of these celestial objects twinkling far beyond his reach. He would often gaze up at the stars and would pray, "May I be like Newton." Chandra was tutored at home until the age of 12. His father used to teach him physics and maths, and his mother taught him Tamil. The family later moved to Allahabad in 1916 and then finally settled in 1918 in Madras. Even though he was homeschooled for most of his early education, he went to Hindu High School in Madras between 1922 to 1925. He then went to the Presidency College, Madras between 1925 and 1930 and graduated with a BSc Honours degree in physics. Chandrasekhar was really inspired by the life of Srinivas Ramanujan, and so he wanted to opt for mathematics in his college, but his father suggested him to choose physics. During his time in college, he wrote his first research paper which got published in the Royal Society of London while he was still an undergraduate. Not many people know that Subhramanyan Chandrasekhar was a nephew of C.V. Raman. Yes, the famous Indian physicist C.V. Raman, who also won Nobel Prize in 1930 for his discovery of Raman effect and Raman scattering. During his time in Presidency College, he met a girl named Lalita Dorai Swami, whom he got married in 1936. For always being one of the distinguished students when it came to academics, he was granted a scholarship by the Government of India to study in UK in 1930. He then moved to Britain to carry out his further studies. He got admitted into Trinity College at the University of Cambridge. During his time in Cambridge, he deeply studied the degenerated electron gas found in dwarf stars under the guidance of an internationally renowned professor, R.H. Fowler. He used Einstein's theories to solve astronomy problems. By the early 1930s, most of the scientists believed that a star, after consuming all its hydrogen, gets converted into a white dwarf. But Subhramanyan Chandrasekhar was the person who described that not every star becomes a white dwarf after its death. He explained that after a certain mass limit, a star cannot become a white dwarf. Instead, it keeps collapsing on itself and blows off its outer layer in a supernova explosion, leaving behind a neutron star. And if the star is even more massive, it continues to collapse on itself and forms a black hole. And this limiting mass is what we today call as Chandrasekhar limit, and its value is 1.44 solar masses. We all know the contributions made by Stephen Hawking in the field of black holes. But if Chandrasekhar wouldn't have proposed the idea of Chandrasekhar limit, then we probably wouldn't be talking about neutron stars and black holes today. Chandrasekhar was indeed a very great scientist of his times. In fact, Stephen Hawking, in his bestseller book A Brief History of Time, while talking about Chandrasekhar, said, in 1928, an Indian graduate student, Subhramanyan Chandrasekhar, set sail for England to study at Cambridge with the British astronomer Sir Arthur Eddington. He was an expert on general relativity. According to some accounts, a journalist told Eddington in early 1920s that he had heard that there were only 3 people in the world who understood general relativity. Of course, the first was Einstein, second was Eddington himself, and then Eddington paused and then replied, "I am trying to think who the third person is." Indeed, he was Chandrasekhar. Now, during his time in London, he worked with many renowned personalities like Niels Bohr and Paul Dirac. After completing his work on degenerate stars and receiving a bronze medal, Chandra was awarded his PhD degree in 1933. And on 9th October, he was elected for the Prize Fellowship of Trinity College, becoming only the second Indian to receive such an honor after Srinivas Ramanujan. However, Chandra was so certain of not getting the fellowship that he had already made his arrangements to study at Oxford that autumn. But to his surprise, he got the fellowship. Now, during that time, Chandra got acquainted with a very famous physicist and astronomer, Sir Arthur Eddington. Eddington in those times was at a peak of his fame as a scientist, and he suggested Chandra to announce his results in the Royal Astronomical Society. On 11th of January 1935, Chandra delivered his lecture on Chandrasekhar limit. But to his surprise and horror, instead of supporting Chandra, Eddington used his full force of fame to oppose him. Even though Eddington was proved to be wrong after some time, his reputation was so high that no one disagreed him. Chandra understood that his theory is not getting the required recognition. The same year, he got an offer from University of Chicago, and he decided to move to USA. We need to understand that despite of so much opposition and odds in his life, he did not give up and kept on working harder. He did important work in various fields throughout his lifetime. He was very versatile and did his research in many fields like gravitational waves, Brownian motion, stellar dynamics, and many more. The controversy for Chandrasekhar limit went on for years, but finally a famous astronomer, Gerard Kuiper, presented evidences that supported Chandra's theory. And at the end, in 1983, Subhramanyan Chandrasekhar received his Nobel Prize in Physics for his works in gravitational collapses of stars. He also received a lot of prestigious awards like Adams Prize, Padma Vibhushan, and Gold Medal of Royal Astronomical Society. The research work he did was phenomenal, and the books he published, every one of them was a classic. The last one being Newton's Principia for common readers. Chandra worked in Chicago for the rest of his lifetime. He worked with students very closely. In fact, he was so humble that he insisted the students who had completed their PhDs to call him Chandra instead of Professor Chandrasekhar, just as his colleagues did. 2 of his students, Sung Dao Liu and Chen Ning Yang, won a Nobel Prize, and you would be amazed to know that they won their Nobel Prize much before Chandra did. Chandrasekhar was an atheist, and he confirmed it several times in his talks. Having spent his entire life studying space theories, Chandra passed away at the age of 84 in 1995. After his death, Lalita gifted the Nobel Prize money to the University of Chicago for the establishment of Subhramanyan Chandrasekhar Memorial Fellowship. MIT started a program, Chandra Astrophysics Institute, as a tribute to Chandrasekhar. The Himalayan Chandra Telescope of India is also named after him. 4 years after his death, NASA launched Chandra X-ray Observatory in honor of him.